Okay, now moving on towards literary elements. Now, or literary device. The literary devices that I will be talking for this chapters are imagery, simile, personification, and irony. Now, imagery. Due to the reason that this is a novel, most imagery found within the chapters that we have read uh, were visual imagery, such as plastic hairband, umbilical plastic hair clip, flower shape, butterfly shape, uh, colorful comb and unbreakable, big comb, small comb, pink, orange, maroon, green, blue, yellow comb, and unbreakable. Because that and sore bottomed and berry eyed, the tailors. These are the few examples of visual images that we have found. Now for simile, I was there was a lot as well, but these are some of the fews. The empty stomach, smell floating out of their mouths like a cocoon containing words was unpleasant. Perching on his stool like a grouchy little owl. If she thought she could drive them like a pair of dun oxens harnessed for her plow, she was mistaken. That was from Omprakash talking badly on Dina. Now you are just now you are saying just accept it, swaying from side to side like a pot without an arse. That's Omprakash saying, talking to his uncle. Now personifications. Wasn't apparent, but we have found two. Give the train a dose of opium and it will run like the bullocks, says Omprakash. Since trains are vehicles, it's impossible to give opium, which is a sort of a drug. The treadles of singers rocked and flywheels hummed as the needles danced and neat and arrows rose upon fabric. This is the personification of the sewing machine in which they hummed as well as danced, which couldn't be true. Now, the irony that is found within the three chapters, there are two. Number one is the irony of Dr. Schroff, where where he died 3 weeks into the medical campaign, which was actually not from typhoid or cholera, in which what he wished to study on, but actually from a cobra's bite, far from a life-saving reach of an antivenom. Another one is the irony of Omprakash way of thinking that smartly discourages social status but agrees to when his uncle remarks on how he talks to Dani as if you are an ignorant fellow from the countryside. This just shows that he talks smartly, but in a way, he thinks he knows better, but he still accepts the fact that he's an ignorant countryside folk. Now, conflicts. There are two: man for man, man versus man, as well as man versus society. Man versus man. Man versus man. There are one, two, three, four. Mrs. Shaw versus Dina, Nuswan versus Dina, Dina versus landlord, as well as Omprakash versus Dina. For man versus society, it's more on Dina versus society. Now, Mrs. Shroff versus Dina. Mrs. Shroff versus Dina happens when the death of her father, in which the mother blames the child for not putting in effort in stopping him when wanting to go to the medical campaign. Pretty simple. That happens in chapter 1. Okay, for Nuswan and versus Dina, it is when they are younger. Dina's hatred towards his brother is when he promised that all the chores are to be shared out, but clearly it was a lie in which forces Dina to do mostly of them at a young age. For Nuswan, it is the hatred within his little sister's mischievous behavior and her stubbornness. Now, Dina versus landlord is pretty simple. It's just the landlord's attempt in evicting Dina out of the apartment due to the lack of payment. For Omprakash versus Dina, it is the Omprakash's feelings of being cheated out of the work that he does for Dina. Man versus society occurs from the societal pressure on Dina as a widowed woman in India, unmarried and working in order to barely live her life within the cities all alone.